Hello, everyone. My name is Majesty. I'm an Atlanta-based real estate developer with $13 million in assets under management and another 50 million in the pipeline. I build and rehab apartment buildings. So stick around for some real estate investment tips. I'm doing a 100 question series of the 100 most common questions that I get from people regarding real estate investing. And today's question is, how can I invest in real estate with little to no money? Which is probably the most common question that you get. Real estate is an expensive arena to play in, but you do not need your own money. You don't have to think that you need your own money. Fortunately, the industry is so strong. The track record of the asset is so strong that it is very easy to get the funding or the money for your project as long as the project makes sense. You can't do that with a lot of other assets. There's not too many people that's going to give you money so you can go buy a stock, or so that you can go buy crypto. It's possible. It's just much more challenging than it is with real estate. With real estate, you can go to most banks, and show them a good deal, and they'll give you the majority of the money. So that's the good news. Um, Now, I'll go through some different ways that you can do real estate with basically no money or very little money. It does require money, but it just doesn't have to be your money. So that's the key. So we say no money down. There's some money going somewhere. It's just not out of your pocket or your bank account. So uh, house hacking. House hacking is it's taken off over the past several years. I think it'll take off more with FHA kind of changing the requirements and making the down payments lower if you're doing something under 4 units or under. So I think that that's a great thing. But house hacking is where you buy a small multifamily property, 2 to 4 units usually, and you live in one unit while you rent out the others. And a lot of those loans for those properties require a very little amount down. FHA, I think, is at 5% right now. Once again, that 5% does not have to be your money. It just has to be 5%. So there's many ways to raise that money, but we'll keep going down the line, and you'll see different ways you can do that. But the rental income from the other units basically cover your payment. So it's one way that you could get into a property for free and also live for free. So that's a little bonus there. Also, you have FHA loans, and those are the first time home buyer type loans that you hear a lot about, where you only need 3.5% down. And that's real. It's a government backed program. And there's even down payment assistance to cover the 3.5%. So it's possible to buy an FHA home with no money down. Most of the local municipalities have down payment assistance programs where they give you a grant for the 3.5% or some type of low interest loan to help you buy the property without any money out of pocket. And those properties can be rented out. It takes some structuring. There's some limitations and restrictions there, but those properties can be rented out. So you can buy a rental property using FHA. You have to live in it for some time, but it can turn into a rental property that you didn't put any money down for. So that's one way you can do it. Another is VA loans, and that's with the Department of Veteran Affairs. People that have served in the military, they have access to 0% down funding to buy a home. So that's a simple way. It's for the people that have served in the military, so that's very specific. I haven't served in the military, so I haven't used a VA loan myself, but I have seen the VA loan used. And people can basically buy a home with no money down because they, served in the military. So that's pretty straightforward. No money down, and they usually get lower interest rates as well. So that's a great way to do it. Um, probably one of the most common ways to get into real estate with no money down or little money down is seller financing. That's when you find the project or the property, and the seller, they have to be motivated to sell, but they will give you the loan to buy the property. Like they'll put money into the project. I mean, just say you go to a hard money lender and you need 10-20% down to buy the property from the seller. The seller might agree to give you that amount, and I don't mean transfer it to your bank account, even though that's possible. But I mean that they will wait to receive that portion of the money. But you get to incorporate it into your project as money that was put in because it's money. So that's seller financing is something that you have to negotiate with the seller. Every seller is not going to be open to it. A lot of them just want to be cashed out and they don't want to have to deal with you for years. But it is possible. It happens all the time. It happens every day, and that's probably 90% of my deals have some type of seller financing component involved, even if it's just a small portion of the money that's needed. But it's low hanging fruit. You're already working with them. You should be on the same page. You should want the same thing, which is to close. So they're usually willing to put something in to get you there. And that can make it to where you don't have a down payment. Another option is lease options, or sometimes, I guess, similar rent to own. That's one way to get into a property. A lease option is where you pay someone that owns a piece of property an option fee, which can be as low as $1, in order to buy a property from them uh, at a certain price in the future. So it's similar to a purchase contract, except you're just not committed in the way that you're guaranteeing that you will. Now you do run the risk of losing that fee that you paid if you don't perform. So that's the risk. But that's typically the most risk that you take in a lease option situation. And while you have that option, you're leasing the property as well. So you're kind of renting it while you work on buying it. And a lot of times the payments that you make while you're leasing the property can go towards the future purchase. So, that it can turn into you not having to put any money down if you lease a property for a year or two while you work out the purchase part. And, $200, $500 of your rent every month is going towards the closing of the property. Then you can have a substantial amount saved up towards the down payment by the time you're done. So that's another creative way to kind of get a deal done with little to no money. And the other way is probably one of the most common is partnering with investors, partnering with someone that does have the money, and giving them a piece of the deal or giving them interest in return for them putting their money into your deal, because nobody's just going to do it for no reason. So there's different investors have different criteria that they're looking for when they invest into a project. So you want to, kind of be mindful of all of that. But ultimately, you manage the deal, you find the deal, you handle that part of things, and they bring the money to it. And, a lot of times they like to kind of stay hands off, and they just kind of want to put the money in, and they also want to get the money out, of course, and get their return. So that's a simple way to do it. There's a lot of people you can partner with, from institutional organizations to just regular people that have extra capital. So that's a great way to do it. Also, hard money lenders. There's actually hard money lenders that will give you 100% financing. It can be rare. It can be challenging. You typically have to have a lot of experience and track record so that they know you'll perform. But it does exist. Even if you Google it, you'll see there are companies that do it. There's one called sheesh, Residential Capital Partners, ResCap. They do it for sure. Now you have to have a great deal in terms of there's a lot of equity, there's a lot of upside, but they do it. I've worked with them before, and so they'll close. They'll, like 100% financing. You don't have to bring anything to the table, but you do have to have some track record, and the deal has to have so much meat on the bone that it makes sense for them to do it. But there are also secondary investors that provide gap funding for deals, and they can call it a lot of different things: gap funding, mezz debt, preferred equity. It's a lot of different names for it depending on who you're talking to and what level you're talking to. But there are lenders that will give you that, like, they know you have a hard money loan and need, maybe 20% down. They'll come in at that with that 20%. Now, it's not cheap at all, because they're taking the riskiest portion of the capital stack of the money that's needed and putting it in for you. So it's not cheap. Like, when you don't put your own money in, you're gonna have to pay other people well to put the money in for you, which is fair when you think about it. That way everybody kind of, it's a win-win situation. But hard money lenders and other kind of, I guess you could say, alternative lenders will do your deal and make it to where it's either very low money down or 100% financing. So that is possible. Also, wholesaling, which is how I got involved in real estate. I was introduced to real estate through wholesaling. And that's exactly how I did it. So, and wholesaling is basically where you find deals, you find properties below market, and then you bring those deals to investors that have the track record, because they can buy them quickly. They have the resources, they have the contacts, they have the lenders, they have everything lined up. You're new, or newer, less resources. So you could try to buy it yourself, but you could also flip it to an investor like that very quickly if you can show them the profit, show them that it's a good deal, and you have it under contract. You assign the contract to them, and you can add, 10, 20, $50,000 to the price, and the investor is fine with that, and that's your cut. So it wholesaling is a grind. I won't lie to you. I loved it, but it is a grind. It's very boots to the ground. You're on the phones. You're sending mailers. You're meeting with sellers. It's a grind. But you can make great money doing it, that you can then take and put into an investment. That's literally what I did. I wholesaled like crazy for about a year or so, maybe 2 years. And while I was doing that, I was building up the capital to be able to take some money and then do my own deal. I came across some deals, and this is too good. I don't want to give this to the next person. I think that I can do it. And one of those deals I actually ran through Residential Capital Partners, and that was one of my first flips. So it is possible. It happens every day. It does take some persistence and perseverance, and all of that, but it is possible. You just got to lock in on what it is that you're trying to do. Kind of not take no for an answer. The last one I'll say is home equity line of credit, or just home equity loan in general. If you do have property that has equity in it, you can pull some of that equity out and put it into another deal. And that's, I guess, technically no money or little money down. You can also partner with someone that has equity, and then they can do that, put the money in the deal, and become your partner. So that's another way to do it. Ultimately, you always want to do your due diligence on whoever you're working with, whether it be a bank, a pension fund, a private lender, because it's a very serious relationship. A lot of times, new investors get so caught up in trying to get approved for a project or a loan that they forget that they need to also approve the lender and make sure that the lender is on the up and up, and not necessarily only that they'll steal something from them or defraud them somehow, but that their systems and processes are in place so that you can execute on your plan for the property. If they're not doing what they need to do in terms of putting money where it needs to be put at the time that they're supposed to, those delays hurt you as well as them, but it mostly hurts you. as you have your name and everything on the line for the project. So make sure you're working with lenders and investors that you can kind of feel comfortable they're going to push through till the end and make sure to work with you and not against you. Um, Also, you want to be aware of very high interest rates. Hard money and those alternative financing sources can go pretty high. I've seen as high as 16% in this environment. Um, so and that can be pretty detrimental to a project's profitability. So you want to consider those things as well, and you always want to have more than one exit strategy just in case. And I always point back to the pandemic, the shutdown. A lot of people thought that things were going to go a certain way, and overnight everything kind of changed. We were all inside and couldn't go outside, and that changed a lot of people's plans. So you definitely want to have another strategy just in case things change. Banks fold. That has happened before. In the middle of a project, the lender folds. So you just want to have other ways that you can execute your business plan. So anyway, definitely explore these strategies. Main thing is to get involved, start investing. Like, comment, subscribe for more tips. Thank you. I appreciate you checking out the video and engaging. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.